Hello everybody and welcome back to Dawncaster. This is a series where we are playing through all the classes in their most basic default loadout to teach newcomers to the game kind of how it works, give them a little springboard into the game, let them get to grips with some of the mechanics. So the class we're going to be looking at today is the Seeker. Now overall the Seeker is probably the weirdest class in the game. It's got some really strange weapons, some really strange playstyles that are not very intuitive. However, they're also incredibly powerful once you wrap your head around them. Luckily enough, their default loadout, namely the Knuckles build, is pretty straightforward. You're basically just punching everyone in the face with the Knuckles as much as you can. They have this Cascade ability, which means every time you Cascade, you get another free set of Knuckles. What is Cascade? Basically, every time you play a card that costs 1 energy more or 1 energy less than the card with Cascade, you conjure a free copy. So you're basically trying to play cards that cost more or less than the Knuckles in between every hit of Knuckles to conjure another free pair of Knuckles, and that way you just kind of gradually punch your opponents down. So we're going to take the Knuckles, we're going to take the default focused weapon as our weapon power, we're going to take Mindstrike as our default starting card. Then the difficulty would be normal, the default. I'm going to deactivate all the add-ons and the progression cards. This is kind of to simplify the game as much as possible. There are a lot of amazing cards in the add-ons. I would say it's probably a bit overwhelming, confusing as a beginner if you play with them all to begin with. You're going to run into lots and lots of cards that have just next to no synergy with what you're trying to do, and you're probably going to end up a little bit overwhelmed. I might recommend starting with just the core card set and maybe the progression cards. We're just going to stick to the core today, look at the basics of the games, look at the fundamentals of the game, and kind of get going with that. In terms of the map selection, I'm going to manually select what map we're going to next, because I'm going to try and stick to the core maps of the game, which is basically the game more or less how it was before the add-ons. In general, the core levels are easier than the add-on levels. They have fewer gimmicks and tricky things you need to pay attention to, so this is a good place to start as a beginner. If you want to, you can read all this lore stuff on your own playthrough. I've already seen it before. Let's crack on. So, basic way Dawncaster works is a roguelike. If you die, it's over. You have to start again. You add cards to your deck whenever you kill an enemy or through certain other events. You're trying to just get through the story to get to the main end boss and kill him. You can put any collection of cards together to do that. And basically the way this game works, instead of something like Slay the Spire where you're going from, you have a map and you go from one event to the next and you can see what you're going to go through, Dawncaster is both simultaneously more random and also less random depending how you think about it. So the way Dawncaster works is you have a kind of, I don't know, it's like an event deck which has a certain amount of cards in it for each act you enter, and it'll always deal you 3. So here we have 2 opportunities and a spider. A spider's an enemy. So we can either go look at one of these opportunities, which are like a random event, or go fight the spider. In general, I would always recommend going to the opportunities first, because if you do not go to an opportunity, it gets removed, whereas the spider will just get shuffled back in. So let's click on one of these opportunities, see what it is. The Wounded Animal. This is a really good event. There's so many events in this game, I'm not even going to try and explain them all. They all do something different. Some are really bad for you, some are really good for you, some of them just kind of do nothing. In this case, we can free the animal and we can give it a health potion, and this will imbue us with the, well, not imbue us, this will give us the talent Compassionate, so all our healing effects now heal 1 additional health. This can be really good for a lot of builds. So if you come across that animal and you have a health potion, try and heal it with it, you'll get that. Windy Hillock, this is another event. This is pretty good. We can find shelter here. In the shelter, we can raise our shield. This will help us get rid of one of the shield cards, one of the blocks from our deck. One thing that's important to point out about these kind of card games is you really want to get your deck down to a reasonable size of cards. If you have too many cards in there, you're probably not going to see your best cards very often, and your synergies will start to fall apart. If you have too few cards, your deck might become too predictable, and there are some enemies that will feast off the fact that you don't have a lot of cards in your deck, and just kind of burn them out of your deck, and your deck will be gone. See, there's a kind of a middle balance. I would say for a generic build, you're probably looking at like 12 to 20 cards. There are a few builds where you're looking for over 100 cards. There are some builds where you can combo off with like 6 or 7. They will just reliably win you the game every time you play them. Normal build, probably 12 to 20. Let's go with this, look at this opportunity. Red caps. Let's have a closer look at them. We can coat one of our weapons in the poison. Upgrades one of our weapons. Alright. We want to fight one of these enemies now. Going to the campsite. Not necessary at the moment. We don't need to heal. I'm going to activate my weapon power going in. So our weapon power is this thing called Focus Strike. So when you use it, you start the next combat with 1 focus and this enchantment called Centered Strikes. What Centered Strikes does is this combat, your basic attacks deal additional damage equal to your focus. Oh, and guess what? We have an additional focus because we activate our weapon power. So all our knuckles are now doing 1 additional damage. Focus has dual uses, or multiple, well, probably more than that actually. There are quite a few abilities that scale off how much focus you have, so they do more damage for the more focus. In this case, we do 1 more damage on our basic attacks, we do more focus. If you have 5 or more focus at the beginning of your turn, you will also draw an additional card. Now this isn't stacked, so you don't get 2 at 10 and 3 at 15, it's just 5 or more. So we're going to try and trigger the cascade here. Something to pay attention to. You see how these cards all have like a yellow frame? If I play this Surge, which costs 0 energy, the knuckles will all turn green. This means that their cascade is now available. I'm going to play one of these knuckles, and do you see how it's summoned another knuckle here? This knuckle is now automatically green because the free copy of the knuckle that we conjured is triggering off the cascade of the last one. Since this one is now free, the knuckles that are currently yellow, like this one, will turn green afterwards because they cost 1 more. Then I'm going to play this one, it'll summon us a new one, which is now green. If I play this, it'll summon us another one. Now, however, these are not green anymore because the last pair of knuckles we played cost 0 energy, so they won't cascade off other knuckles that also cost 0, but that should be enough. Just kill the wolf in one go. Nothing too interesting here. Just go next. When you start playing this game, honestly, I would recommend just grabbing tons of random cards. Every time you kill an enemy, pretty much every enemy, they're gonna drop 3 cards you can look at. To learn how this game works, just take a bunch of cards, play them, see what they do. You're probably gonna make a lot of horrendous builds that don't make much sense, but that's just how you learn a game, right? So let's trigger this cascade. We played a free energy. That might be this knuckle, make another knuckle, which makes this knuckle, make another knuckle, which means if we play this one, that'll trigger this one. Spider's dead. So it's actually very thematic, isn't it? You're just kind of taking turns, kind of going left, right, and just beating your opponent down with the knuckles. I'll be skipping through all the lore stuff. I'm not looking at any of that. There's some interesting little stories going on in the background, though. If you're just starting out, I'd recommend reading them. All the characters actually have quite a lot of personality, I'd say. Let's see. Just 3 health shy on this Raven. So, a little thing to understanding your opponents in this game. Once you've played it enough, you'll eventually memorize exactly what every opponent can do. Some basic stuff to pay attention to is at the top left, you see those 2 little red swords underneath the name Sharpclaw Raven? Those are the cards your opponent is holding. So our opponent is holding 2 melee attacks, which are red swords. There's other ones, there's like abilities, magic abilities, there's defensive stuff, which is like a green shield. Once you play the game more, you're going to know what each of them does. However, some opponents have multiple melee attacks. You might not know exactly which melee attack they're actually holding. And the more experience you get, the more you can try and play around what they might do next turn. Now, in addition to seeing what kind of cards they're holding, in the center of the screen here, below the 3, which is their health, see there's 6 dots, one of them's red. That's how much energy they have. If you can see the 2 dots next to it that are like a lighter shade of red, those are how much energy they're going to get added at the beginning of the next turn. So next turn, they'll have 3 energy. Not that it matters. We killed them now anyhow. Nothing interesting here for our build. Again, try as many cards as you can at the beginning. Later on in the game, you'll sort of figure out what works and what doesn't. Don't feel forced to take cards. There are also some cards that are good at the beginning of the game that become worse later. You know, don't feel scared about throwing away a card that was like really good for like the first 5 acts, but then it's just not doing much, it's not pulling its weight anymore in the next 2. That's totally fine. I won't get too emotionally attached to any single card. Okay. Can we knuckles this guy completely to death? Oh, 1 damage short. Okay, I wonder if potentially if I'd sequenced that differently, we could have killed him in turn 1. Still, pretty good. Killed that mini-boss turn 2. Nothing too interesting here. Take your gold and your life. That's very rude. Nope, he's poisoned us. Let's see. Let's just focus on what we're doing for now. We're just cascading. Again, paying attention. If we can, we play something that costs 1 energy, then no energy, the 1 energy, then no energy, the 1 energy, then no energy. And eventually they're dead. Okay, so we've leveled up for the first time. You can always choose between a few talents here. The more unlocks you make with fate shards you earn while playing. By the way, this is not a pay-to-win game. You can't buy fate shards, you can't buy levels, you can only unlock it through playing the game. This is a premium game, there's none of that BS. So, you can unlock these talents. The more unlocks you have with the fate shard, the more of them you can re-roll. So you can hit this little renew here, and it'll re-roll them. And I actually don't even know what I'm looking for here exactly. What do I want? The first level, you're not going to get anything too amazing, to be fair. Quick study, choose a card in your deck, reduce its energy cost to 0. That's kind of interesting. Durable, that's also quite interesting. Blighter, poison deals additional damage, kind of completely irrelevant to us. We're not doing any poison damage at the moment. I'm actually just going to take durable. That's a pretty generic boost to our health. I don't think it's amazing or anything, but usually the stuff you get at level 1 isn't going to be game-changing. There are a few builds that kind of need something very specific to pop up at level 1, or else they sort of just implode in on themselves. Seeker especially has 1 or 2 quite gimmicky builds where you need to find 2 talents in a row, and if you get them, you're basically unkillable. But I mean, the chance of finding both in a row, incredibly slim. Still fun to do. Bam, bam, bam. Punch the Raven. Okay, just focus on cascading again. So, 0 cost card. Knuckles. Knuckles. 1 cost. 0 cost. Play 1 cost card. 0 cost. Dead. Easy. The Weeping Mother. Okay. This is the first boss of the first act if you're playing on the core levels. She has some nasty stuff she does to you. She's actually going to be pretty good against our builds because what she does is she applies Dazed. Dazed is basically a delayed stun that kind of punishes you for taking lots of game actions. Unfortunately, as you can see, every turn we're playing like, I don't know, we're playing like 10 cards. And she's going to daze us. You can see this like swirly here. And that means we can only play 4 cards a turn going forwards. This is really going to limit how much damage we can do, which is very, very annoying. Some builds don't really care about it at all because they deal all their damage in like 1 or 2 big cards. As a bit of a build that kind of builds up over time like this. Unfortunately, that's just not where we're at. But we should still be able to defeat her without any big issues. She heals herself, she hits us. I'll point out the cards at the top left of the screen again underneath her name. She's got 2 skulls, a shield, and the sword. Sword is a melee, the shield is some kind of defensive action, and the 2 skulls are sort of her, like, uber attacks. So, lots of normal creatures, and pretty much every boss has some kind of, like, mega attack that does, like, it either does, like, severe damage, or it does something crazy. If you have a card that's an interrupt ability, you can basically knock those out of your opponent's hand, and prevent them from doing their super special ability. But we have not found any interrupt cards so far. Those can be vital to some boss fights, because their strong attack will just literally do like 100 damage to you. Let's see, what do we have here? 3 cards to pick from. The end of this turn. I'm going to take the Assassin's Mark. This is really good. So this turn, your range and middle attacks with critical hit. And it has 1 charge. If something has a charge, it basically means you can use it once per combat. Charges also have some additional synergies that come into effect if you're using something like a grenade build, but that's a little bit more advanced. I'm using these campsites to both heal myself and remove some cards from my deck. The thing is, even in a deck like this, where you have tons of basic attacks and they're quite important, don't actually want too many of them. Especially with the Knuckles, because they keep on summoning copies of themselves. You don't necessarily need too many in your deck, so 1 or 2 will often just generate enough copies to get you through. Let's go to the inn. At the inn we can heal ourselves a little bit. Oh, the blacksmith here is very cool. So you see how you're at the bottom right, activate my weapon power, there's a 3 there now. That means in 3 turns I can use my weapon power again. However, if you go to the blacksmith, he will instantly refresh your weapon power, as well as offering a few other things. So you can upgrade a card, remove a base deck, or upgrade all your basic attacks. I'm going to upgrade them all. Not necessarily that's the right thing to do, but on normal difficulty, you know what, you're not going to lose too much by doing it either. We're going to go to the Eastern Blightwoods. We're sticking to all of the core levels for this run. Again, the core levels are pretty much beatable by most standard builds. They're not too gimmicky. Some of the add-on levels just have abilities and enemies. Some builds just, I swear, cannot beat, especially on the higher difficulties. Or you'd have to be incredibly lucky. Oh, this is a good opportunity to explain another little mechanic here. Do you see this, like, on the very right, there's an opponent, the Matriarch Daisy. So this is a mini-boss. She has that little skull. And at the top of her, she has this affix. Now, I accidentally clicked on her instead of clicking on the affix, but basically, if you don't fight her, but instead fight the opponent next to her, her, like, boss bonus, that affix, will be applied to the other enemy. So you're basically fighting, like, an empowered enemy. There is no benefit to doing this. The empowered enemy is just stronger and will just do a lot more damage to you. So if you can, try and just focus on the mini-bosses and take them down. If they have an affix like that. Like, don't try and fight the side enemies, sorry, with an affix on them. Okay, this is a fun little event. This is where we unlock the merchant if we want to. You have a few options here. You can either rob him, you can free him straight away. Well, you can rob him and free him, or you can rob him and leave him behind, or you can leave him behind or free him. If you're going to leave him behind, rob him first. If you're going to free him, you either have the choice of freeing him now and getting a look at his inventory, or robbing him and then freeing him, and then you'll only get to shop with him later in the game. I don't really have that much money right now, so I'm actually going to rob him, but then I'm going to free him. So we'll run into him again later, and even though we robbed him, we did free him, so he'll probably forgive us. Let us have a look at his wares. Alright, let's see how we can knuckle our way through this. There are some really good enchantments for this build you can get. For instance, that do stuff like your basic attacks do 1 more damage for each basic attack you've played, which you can imagine is pretty damn good with the amount of basic attacks we're playing this game. Nothing super interesting here. So, interesting. So this is the mysterious crates encounter. If you already have the merchant unlocked here, I would just leave, because then basically you find these like dodgy crates, and the implication, I think, is that the merchant is a bit of like a crook. And by not inspecting the crates, you're not going to reveal how corrupt his like business is. But what it does is it means in return you can now start buying cards at campfires for free. So this is a great way to dig deep and see if you can find stuff that'll be good for you. Flurry of Blows. That's a pretty good enchantment for this build. So let's see what we can do here. If I play... You know, I'm actually going to play this Assassin's Mark. So for the rest of this turn, all my attacks are going to critical hit. That was it. Turn 1 kill. Very easy. I'm going to activate this again. Take down this Crimson Bloodhound. See if we can do him in 1 hit. Well, not 1 hit. 1 round. Let's do that. Let's do that. Cascade. 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 There you go. Easy. That's kind of the rhythm you're trying to get there. 3 abilities, none of which are very good. Contract Killing is excellent if you're playing like a rogue that's using Charm. That's a whole topic for another video. Mobility, Inoculation, Stalker. That's pretty good. All right. Here's Centered Strikes, the enchantment that we're already getting for free via our weapon power. Could still be worth taking because we can only use our weapon power every three battles, and if we just imbued Centered Strikes, we just have it every fight going forward. But yeah, not strictly necessary or anything. As you play the game more and more, again, you will know what to focus on. Oh, by the way, so for the first time this game, we've actually played this enchantment Flurry of Blows. What does Flurry of Blows do? It's at the beginning of your turn. You conjure either a Quick Jab or a Sudden Strike. Both Quick Jab and Sudden Strike are cards that play basic attacks, and we're a basic attack centric deck. And what's better yet too is they cost no energy, so they will help us trigger our Cascade in certain moments. And even if they don't trigger the Cascade, they're just another basic attack. And in a deck all about basic attacks, that's kind of where you want to be. Bear Trap, we have Dexterity, so we can quickly leap out of the track. Sorry, Trap. Shrine of Commerce. Nah, I'm not going to exchange anything. Oh, the Collector. Okay, so the Collector basically, you can give him cards, and depending on the rarity of the card, he will give you something in exchange. If you give him one of the highest rarity cards, he will give you, straight up give you a free random talent. That can be amazing. He might randomly give you something broken. There are also 1 or 2 cards in the game. If you give them to him, he will give you a special card that is otherwise completely unobtainable. I'm not going to tell you what they are, because they're really cool to discover. I will hand over a card. I'm just actually going to give him one of my bad cards for now. By bad, I mean low rarity, because I don't want to give away my high rarity ones at the moment. That being said, if we ran into the Collector now, we'll probably run into him again later. So we should keep that in mind and potentially bank some kind of rare card to give to him. So if we see a super rare card, even if it's not good for a build, it might be good just putting it into the deck. Yeah, knuckles in your face. Upgrade a card. Just gonna upgrade the one that's already been upgraded. Let's go all in on it. Discard this health potion. Knuckles, knuckles, knuckles. So sometimes you don't really find anything good to cascade with. You just gotta play your basics out. It's still better than not doing anything. Okay, I probably should have played Assassin's Mark there. Then I would have killed that opponent. Especially these guys are kind of annoying. They steal a bit of your gold every time they hit you. So you want to kill them as quickly as possible. If you're playing a slow build, they might end up draining a lot of gold from you before you get them down. Oh yeah, we can buy cards for free. I almost forgot about that. Nothing rare here. Again, we're looking for something kind of really rare that we can maybe pick up and give to the merchant later. Thing is, what we could do is I'm going to take this Serenity card here, which I don't actually want to use. But here at the Alchemist, I can give her this card, and she will change it into something of a higher rarity. So now I have a card that is the highest rarity, which is this orange thing. You see down here at the bottom where it says enchantment, it's got the little orange either side. That I can later give to the collector in the next act. And in exchange, he will give me some kind of cool talent. And I hope it's something good. Yeah, again, that's just a thing you learn from experience. The collector is super cool. There is a bit of a risk to it though. Obviously, if you're just putting cards in your deck that you don't actually want to play, just because you think they might pay off later, it can, obviously it means you're going to end up drawing them. And if you end up drawing them in situations where they're not doing anything, rather than cards that might save your life, you might just die because you filled your deck with things that may or may not pay off later. We're playing at the default difficulty here, so the chance of us getting blown out by that, I would say, is pretty low. Definitely something to think about, though. Spell all blessings from your opponent. Spiritual Warfare, discard our cards. Make a basic attack for each card discarded. That could be good, but I'm not gonna go for it now. Just gonna upgrade my Knuckles again. I was gonna look at back some more cards. So if I were getting hit a little bit harder by the opponents, if we're on a higher difficulty, I might be using the campfires a little bit more to heal myself. I'm personally not super scared of my opponents at the moment. So I am fine just using them to find more and more powerful cards. It can be very helpful though to use them to yourself if you need them in a pinch. But if you can use them to gain some other kind of advantage, either by removing unwanted cards from your deck to streamline it more, or in this case, because we've unlocked the free cards, use it for that, go for it. Some lore stuff here, some stuff you could do with him here. We're just going to finish him. We're going to dress the remaining bandits. And I'm going to make them all work for me now. And I'll show you why later, because this is going to unlock a synergy in one of the later levels. I'm just going to take the ill-gotten gains. This is going to give us some money later, and I'll show you how. So we're returning to Bright Candle. If you want to progress the story, go talk to Consul Evelyn. A bunch of lore here, you can read it if you want to. I'm fine. Let's talk to the merchant. Show me your wares, merchant. Nothing super interesting at the moment, that's fine. We're gonna go to the inn. We've got a bit of extra gold. Let's heal ourselves up a bit. Upgrade all our basic attacks. Let's leave the area. I am ready. So again, we're going to all the core levels. Go to the Noxlight Swamp. So this area has a bunch of undead. Has some tricky mini-bosses. The mini-boss you run into, I think, is always random. I think most levels have like 2. Some of them have more. And one of the mini-bosses in the swamp can be a real son of a bitch. Oh, see, the collector's back. But again, always go for the opportunities first. Opportunities are pretty much the only thing that don't get reshuffled into the deck. I'm going to pick this middle opportunity, and you're going to see the opportunity on the rest is going to disintegrate. See how it melted away? That means it won't reappear again later. So if you can take an opportunity, do it over anything else. This is a great opportunity, by the way, that Pot-Bellied Imp. If you deal with him, I think he takes 20 of your HP. But you get a free imbue. Okay, interesting. The thing is, he'll always show you 4 enchantments. The problem is none of them can be relevant to your build, and you could have basically just given away 20 health for absolutely nothing. In this case, we've got 2 pretty good options. We could either take Centered Strikes, which is the thing we have on our weapon power already, but we would just have it permanently rather than only every 3 combats. Or we could take Battle Vigor, which is this combat at the start of your turn, take 1 damage and draw a card. I'm actually going to take Battle Vigor, because that card draw is going to be quite helpful. I really wouldn't underestimate how unbelievable a card draw it is, especially in a deck where you're trying to, like, constantly play more and more cards to keep on cascading off each other. Sometimes just having that one extra card can turn a hand from pretty good into like cracked. Golden Statuette. Okay. So the Golden Statuette is a funny little encounter. Some characters, if you have the right attributes, they can like take the statue and they can give it to the collector, and the collector will give you something very special for it. I'm going to use the Ill-Gotten Gains here. What they basically do, this is the thing I picked up from the boss later. You can only use it once. You gain 50 gold and it adds a Greed to your deck. Greed is a corruption. As you can see up here, when I draw it, I take damage for every card in my hand. And this is now permanently in my deck. So I'm going to have to use one of the campfires to get rid of it, or potentially buy another event. There are some decks that actually benefit from having corruptions in their decks. This is not one of them. Alright, level up again. So, this is our third level up, probably the most important one in the game, because this is the only one where you get to pick another attribute. So what these attributes do is, you start each round with an additional point of like energy of that color. So our main focus in this build, I would say, is green energy, so I'm going to go with greater dexterity. You can check your attributes if you click on your character at the bottom left here. Dexterity 2 green, intellect 1 blue. So I start each fight with 2 green, 1 blue, and then another 2 green because I have this stalker thing. Gain 2 green at the start of combat. So let's see if we can cascade into turn 1 win here. I think we probably can. Yeah, get wrecked. Quick jab. Okay, that's pretty good. So quick jab, you know, earlier I talked about this Flurry of Blows, this combat conjure a quick jab or sudden strike at the end of turn. So now, not only will Flurry of Blows be conjuring them for me, I also have a quick jab in my deck, and quick jab just makes a basic attack, so it does like a Knuckles. But then it also has this ambush clause. What ambush is if it's the very first card you play in that round, it has an additional effect. In this case, it'll draw us another card. This card basically makes a basic attack and then just replaces itself. So if you're playing a deck like this one, that's actually a really strong effect. Now I'm gonna go to this campsite. I'm gonna get rid of this corruption before it starts annoying me. Transform a card. You know what, I'm going to transform the card we're going to give to the collector later, just in case it shows us something interesting. That's an interesting card. That's potentially a bit of a more advanced one. This one, quick adaptation, because it permanently replaces a card in your deck with one of your opponents. If you kind of know what the opponents are up to, you can build a deck where you're basically generating bad cards for yourself and swapping them from good cards from certain opponents and make something really crazy. I'm just going to give this to the collector. And he's going to be like, marvelous, what a gem you found. And he imbued a random talent that is unfortunately completely useless for me. So I got marksmanship at the bottom here, which is range actions, 50% chance to be a critical hit. I don't have a single ranged action in this build, and I doubt I will in the future. That is the RNG nature of a roguelike at work for you, but it's all part of the fun. Maybe when I run into him again later, it'll give me something really good. We didn't lose anything, you know, to be fair. I'm gonna take this corrupted action, because this is something we can give to the potion lady again to upgrade to high rarity for us. Get knuckled. Oh, okay. Well, that's already a corrupted action at the highest level. You know, I actually don't want that one, because that one will cost me a lot of life. And I currently don't actually have a lot of sustain. Do I have any sustain? I don't think I do. Not too keen on any of these, to be fair. Shrine of Potential. Okay, I can sacrifice a card here to upgrade some of my other cards, but it's nothing I want to sacrifice right now. Oh, these frogs. I remember when I started playing the game, these frogs were always kicking my butt. So they have this special attack where they deal damage based on their maximum health. And if you don't get them low quickly, they will just chunk you. Especially when you start playing the game, you're really not expecting that from just like a generic enemy. Really caught me off guard. It's actually kind of funny. Oh, okay, Alchemist. What can you give me instead of Vampirism? Okay, so none of these cards actually do anything for me, but I will keep them because I can give them to the collector at the next level. Okay, this is a mini-boss, the Noxite Troll, so we got a bit lucky here. This guy is not the more dangerous of the two, if you ask me. The other one, the big slime guy. Oh, I sequenced that poorly. The big slime guy, he doubles his health at the beginning of every turn if he ends his health on an even life total. Just absolutely wrecks you. So you have to get him down quick, or you have to try and meticulously, like, do an exact amount of damage to him to prevent him from doubling his life. But we seem to be blowing through these enemies right now. Knuckles, 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 Knuckles. Bam! Alright, let's continue the story. So whenever you see a blue thing, like the one I just clicked on called the Torn Cloth, that's basically just like progressing the actual level. The thing is, you don't actually have to fight all of the enemies you run into. You are totally free to just ignore tons of them. You can actually just ignore most of the mini-bosses as well. Not all of them, but most of them. Alright, we leveled up again. What do we get? Wow, this stuff is... Oh, Headhunter. Magical Ornaments. Oh, Magical Ornaments would actually be really good too. I'm gonna take Headhunter. So this is whenever you defeat a boss, you gain 50 gold and heal back to full health. That'll kind of sustain us from level to level. It's an okay talent. I wouldn't actually say it's like amazing. For some builds, or some characters, it's better than others. For instance, I find I sometimes have sustain issues with the Rogue. So getting that full heal at the end of every level, plus the 50 gold, that can add up, you know? Because how many bosses are you killing per run? It's like 6 or 7? It's like 300 gold or so. That's quite a bit of gold. Bam, bam, bam. Get knuckled. Alright, here is the boss of this level, Bulgar. So Bulgar specializes in poison. I don't think I've spoken about poison this run so far. So poison has a few uses. The main thing that it does is every time, if you're poisoned, every time you play an action, it'll do, at its base level, 1 damage to you and remove 1 stack. So we have 5 poisons, so the next 5 actions I do, I will take 1 damage each. Its secondary strength is that if I heal, rather than healing me, it'll first remove stacks of poison. So if I heal 5 life right now, I would actually just heal nothing, but instead remove the poison. So even if you're not a poison build, if you poison an enemy, which is the weakest amount of poison that's just doing 1 damage, you're still preventing them from healing, which can be really strong. So it kind of has this backup use, even if you're not all in. But we're just gonna knuckle this guy round 1. Take that, Bulgar. Anyhow, after this fight, we find out that Bulgar's actually a pretty cool guy. You can do all the lore stuff with him on your own playthrough, but he basically joins your party, and he becomes one of the best camp followers, because he can imbue enchantments, which is super cool. Nah, nothing interesting here. We're just going to leave the area. Alright, we're sticking to all the core levels. We're going to the Amber Mines next. Now, at the end of the Amber Mines here, you're going to see the payoff for having made the bandits work for us earlier. There's the collector. Alright. Yes, we do have a card for you. We have this Sanguine Shield. What did he give us? So he just gave us Sacred Shield for free. So we're now starting the battle with 1 Impervious. So Impervious basically stops like 1 instance of direct damage and a few other things. Struggle to name all the things off the top of my head that it could name. Take the gold from the box. We get another greed. Oh, we're so greedy. Remove a card. Let's get that greed out of here before it starts doing too much damage. Again, we're trying to hit all the opportunities we can. We've been ambushed. Let's see, here's that Impervious. So Impervious, take no damage. When dealt damage on enemy turn, take no damage, increase Impervious by 1. That's really good against stuff like, well, like it says, you can't Impervious take no damage. So for instance, if you get Impervious on your turn and the opponent has burnt or poisoned you, it won't actually do any damage, because it only removes the Impervious if you take damage during their turn. So it can actually be really strong against certain builds. There are some enemies that also get Impervious, and of course the enemies have been designed to make the most of the Impervious. They have these really annoying mechanics where like they regenerate all their health at the end of the turn, and they have Impervious, and so you kind of need to not only remove the Impervious but also kill them in one go. They can get pretty challenging. I'm trying to kill all the small guys here because I'm seeing if maybe I can level up before I go face the mini-boss of this level. As you can see, we're pretty damn powerful now. We're kind of blitzing through most of these smaller guys without having to pay much attention to any of their mechanics. But these guys do all have quite interesting mechanics that can really hurt you if you're not super aware of what to look out for. But we're now just punching them to death. You know, no need to think about what your opponent is up to. They can't make it past turn 1, right? Okay, this guy will probably make it past turn 1. He's pretty tanky. Let's see, let's see. You know what, I'm actually just going to consume this health potion because it's really annoying me. The thing is with the health potion is like, every time you draw it, you're not drawing another card, if you know what I mean. So I'm kind of staying at a high life total. Every time I draw the health potion, I'm not drawing another Knuckles. And that's kind of the downside of having cards like that in your deck, is that they will often ruin the flow. However, you do need them for certain situations. For instance, the Rogue doesn't have much natural sustain, so you're going to end up using potions to sustain yourself a lot. Which is like a tricky balancing act, you know, because you don't want too many, because then you'll draw nothing but them. You don't want too little, because you need them to survive as well. Alright, down with the Amber Elemental. We level up again! Let's see. Weapon Virtuoso. Okay, interesting. Maybe inflict a critical hit, inflict 3 bleeding. We do inflict critical hits by Assassin's Mark. Weapon Virtuoso is also quite tempting because it makes all our basic attacks free. The only problem is that's gonna mess with our cascading a little bit. Interesting though, actually. I'm actually gonna go. I'm actually gonna go for the wounds. I think if I were gonna try and do the other one, I would have to build around it a little bit more. Okay, I'm using the Bulgar. This is the poison guy from the last act. He's part of a party and he can imbue these enchantments. What imbuing does, it removes the enchantment from your deck, just puts it onto your character permanently, so you don't have to pay you do not have to pay energy for it anymore. You don't have to draw it, you don't have to do any of that. It's just on your character for the rest of the game. There are a few enemies in the game that can knock enchantments off you again. However, it's only for that combat, so by the next combat they'll be back on you. So you can see I now just have Flurry of Blows permanently on my guy, so I start the game with it. Let's see. Unfortunately, I did not draw the critical hit cards, so my knuckles aren't doing quite as much damage as I would like them to, but it's still enough to kill this guy the first round. Yeah, that's pretty good. So we got our card draw, we got our damage. I think we've got a pretty solid build going here. This is a pretty focused build. We don't have very many cards in our library. There are some builds that benefit from having much bigger decks. I wouldn't necessarily say that this is one of them. There are some pretty cool cards you can add to this deck, I just haven't found them yet. Also, if you play with more of the add-ons, you might see some cooler stuff. Yeah, the base loadout. I think this is pretty fine. This just knuckles this guy down. Yeah, very nice. So the bleeding is coming in handy there as well. I'll actually explain bleeding next time I apply it to the enemy. So if I play this and this, and I hit him once. Okay, so I've applied bleeding. Bleeding is similar to poison, however, with poison it's whenever you're poisoned, you play an action, you take a damage. With bleeding, it's whenever you hit an enemy and they're bleeding. It does additional damage equal to their bleeding and then removes the stack. So our opponent has 2 bleeding. So if I hit them with this, it'll do 16, and then did you see the tiny little 2 behind it? Then it removed 1 stack of bleeding, so they went down to 1, but because of our talent Grievous Wounds, whenever you inflict a critical hit, inflict 3, it went back up to 4. So this is basically just adding extra damage to every hit we make. That's just going up and up and up as long as we keep on critically hitting. Prestidigitation. Okay, you know what? That one on the right, that's a very good card. I can't pronounce it. However, it's not what we need right now for this build. But if you're playing something like the Arcanist and you're trying to do some like sick combo where you just play like 50 cards in one turn, that card is really, really good. Let's see, anything interesting here? I could get a second Assassin's Mark. I'm actually going to get Energy Infusion for later. If I can get that imbued in the next chapter, that'll be quite strong. By the way, a lot of that stuff that I'm clicking through there, depending what you click on, different things will happen. I'm going to kind of leave it up to you to figure out which ones work for you. I have my favorites that I tend to go for. The one I chose there was sort of the least risk-reward version. I'm not trying to do anything too crazy here. This level though is quite special because I'm talking to this demon here, Serena Hellspark. You can either fight her, or you can fight this priestess that she's abducted. Depending which one you fight, you can then recruit either the priestess or the demon to your party. I want the demon. So I'm going to reach for this crystal in my pocket, focus on the pride, tune up the pride, continue, and then she will fight me. Sorry for the little interruption there. My cell phone storage is full, but here we are. Okay, we're still fighting Serena. Serena has this funny little thing that she does called Dominated, where for the first few actions of your turn, she gets to pick what cards you play. You know what, I'm not going to kill her here, just so she has the chance to do it again. And I'll kind of show it to you. This is a little octopus thing she's done here. So when Dominated, you can only play the randomly selected card in your hand. So you're going to see one card will light up. So I can't play these ones that are red. See, I can't play this card right now. The reason she's doing this is she's putting cards in your deck, these beguiles, that when you play them, they heal her and apply charm to you, which will eventually kill you. And she's basically trying to control you to play the cards from your deck that are beneficial to her. You can always just pass the turn without doing anything if she is forcing you to only play the cards that are bad for you and good for her. In this case, she's not doing it because it is a bit of an RNG thing for her as well. So we managed to kill her there. Now, we're gonna recruit her. Hello, Serena. She's part of our party now. Very, very nice. So we can use her to get some free talents later, which is very, very strong. Let's look at all these campsites, buy some cards. Devour Vitality is an interesting one, but that's just not the kind of build we're playing right now, is it? Assassin's Mark, Venomancing. You know what? I'm actually going to take this Venomancing, even though we don't do any poison damage at the moment, because I'm hoping that potentially we can start doing some poison damage, and the Venomancing will become very strong. Let's see if maybe we can find some other poison synergy cards real quick. No luck. I don't have anything for the collector so far either. Nope, we got ambushed. Oh, this is that enemy I told you guys before earlier. The hag. She's got impervious and she heals herself at the end of every turn. Incredibly annoying to deal with, but I think we can do this. Yeah, get knuckled. Nice. Circle of Candles. I'm just gonna leave the circle. I don't want to take that deal, though, to be honest. Wouldn't have been the worst thing. That's a fun event too. I'll let you, I'll let you figure that one out for yourselves when it pops up in one of your games. Let's see if we can get this little Octoboy dead for one round. Nice. Cool. Ah, the succubus. So, she has a few things you could do here. And she wants some puppets. I have some puppets, and guess what? We can give her the bandits. You remember after we killed the guy in the bandit lair, he basically, or we had the option of recruiting them? We can give her the bandits, and she will just give us a random talent. She's given us the blighter talent. The poison deals additional damage equal to your level. Now, I now have Venomancing, and I have blighter. I don't have a way of inflicting poison, but the second I do, my poison damage is going to be off the charts. We're back one more time after clearing my phone to get some more storage. So these guys, yeah, you can steal their food to heal, or you can join their game. You know, one of these three, it's like there's 6 total things or so that can pop up here. My favorite one is Hangman, but we did not get that this time. The wheel basically means you will auto-win that level. It's so broken. I'm actually just gonna take the final star. Doesn't really do too much. Oh, so the final star, at the start of the turn, all combatants gain 5 health. This will only last for the rest of this act, so by the time we're on to the next one, that'll be gone. The Hangman is my favorite, though, because it basically gives you a permanent source of pretty easily accessible healing, which if your build doesn't already have that built in, can be really, really nice to have, but I'll let you discover that one on your own. Let's see, I'll probably kill this guy in one turn. Knuckles. Knuckles. So again, we're going back and forth between 1 and 0 energy. Dead. Easy. Level up. Oh, Purity. Oh, that is an incredibly good card. I don't have any corruptions in my deck. So Purity, honestly, I think this card is incredible. If you ever get around to playing the Sunforge mode, if you find Purity, that thing can make or break a run. It basically cleanses one affliction at the beginning of your turn. That is so strong against some enemies because they're their whole playstyle is built around just locking you down with one affliction, either trying to inflict a ton of burning or a ton of or controlling you like the demon before, or silencing you like with the jinxes. Okay, here on the left we got this poison coating. So this is deal 3 poison whenever you hit with a melee range attack. This is a great way for us to inflict poison for the Venomancing that we found earlier. Let's upgrade a card. Yeah, just whatever. Let's imbue one of these. God, what do we actually want to view? I'm gonna put on the poison coating, just so we can get our poison cooking from the first turn. So if our opponent, for some reason, actually managed to survive to the second turn, you know? We've got that poison cooking. Bam. But yeah, at this point, our build is going off pretty hard. Interesting. You know what? I'm actually gonna... So this is a pretty cool shrine. It changes the cost of one of your cards from energy into life at the cost of like 10 maximum health. That can be really good if you have a card that costs a ton of energy. You can essentially make it free by making it only cost life. Again, we're doing pretty well right now. We don't really have to worry about our life total too much. If you've ever played something like Magic the Gathering, people always joke there that, you know, life is just a resource, you know? Spend it just like your energy. Nah, you can go away. So by the way, I picked up that card, Quick Adaptation, from the last enemy, just in case we run into the collector again, so I have something to give them. I don't actually want to play it, I just want it for the collector. So let's blitz through these enemies. I don't think any of them are really going to stand up to us much anymore. We've put together a pretty strong build. Let's continue here. I think after this enemy we can face the final enemy for this level. Let's see. Cascade. So again, energy, something costs 1 energy, something costs no energy. It's going back and forth. If you can. Oh, Sharpening Stone, definitely take that to upgrade another basic attack. Right, there's the final boss of this level. His whole thing is that he puts a bunch of corruptions into your deck. That's kind of how he messes up your day. They aren't permanent, for the most part. They just last until the end of that combat. But they can still be pretty annoying to deal with. So for the most part, when you draw a corruption, it'll do something bad to you, and also means you're not going to draw one of the actual good cards you have in your deck. Let's see, I think we might be able to just kill him right here. There we go. Yeah, we have a lot of damage. We have a lot of damage coming out of this build right now. Let's just venture forth. So we're going on to the Onyx Cathedral, which is the last level of the game, pretty much, before we face the final boss Dante. The Onyx Cathedral has this little mini game going on. At the top left, you see these 3 faces: Seal of Agony, the Seal of Hatred, and the Seal of Chaos. There are 3 mini bosses in this level. 2 of them you can see in front of us right now, the High Priest of Chaos and High Priest of Agony. And until you've defeated them, every enemy you fight, they are going to... they are basically going to afflict these seals to you at the beginning of the fight. And they can be quite detrimental. So, if you can, you want to try and face the 3 of them down ASAP, so that the other enemies don't hit quite as hard. So the Seal of Chaos gives us a random affliction at the start of the turn. Seal of Hatred buries a card in our deck. And the Seal of Agony makes all our cards cost 1 life to play. Which, on its own, doesn't sound like much, but that really starts to add up. Let's just see if we can knuckles this guy down, though. Easy. Okay, we're almost about to level up. So you can see now one of these seals has turned into the Aspect of Courage. At the start of turn, I'm now gaining awards. Not only have I removed the bad thing, I've also gained a good thing. Less weapon, actually, interesting. My deck is really small, though. You know what? I'm actually going to take Blessed Weapon. It's usually a bit more... Oh, the Collector. Let's give him... Quick Adaptation. Fast Recovery. Okay, that's not a very useful talent this late in the game. Fast Adaptation basically makes it, you can get the very bottom, all the campfires and similar source of healing make you heal to full health rather than 20%. That can be really valuable in some playthroughs because you basically get 5 times as much healing out of a campfire, don't you? Oh, okay. Fortuitous gives us 500 gold. That's just not going to do anything for us now. Really good for some builds, not for us right now. I'm just going to take the Insatiable Curiosity to draw 2 extra cards per turn. That is going to be very strong here, I think. Let's upgrade our basics one more time. Let's go see this opportunity. We get ambushed, but we're getting ambushed by a massive demon. Summoned Baylor is this little thing up here. Summoned. So you only have 3 turns to kill him before he disappears. If he disappears, he just disappears, it's whatever. The thing is, the damage he does to you, you'll obviously still be carrying into the next round, and you won't get any of the benefits from having slain an enemy. So if you can, kill him just like that. Nothing interesting. There's another one there which we can go fight. Let's fight this Mimic. So we didn't actually end up running into a Mimic this round so far. If you run into a proper Mimic, this is a grown Mimic, they will just eat cards from your deck, and similar to the Summoned Baylor, if you don't kill them in time, they will just eat those cards and run away with them, and you will literally just lose 3 random cards from your deck, which can absolutely end a run then and there. However, there is a little trick to spotting the mimics before you click on them. So basically, the treasure chests, the opportunities, can be mimics. So you know how it is in D&D, you go to open a chest, and it kind of attacks you. If you look at them very closely, you can see which ones are real and which ones aren't. However, I will leave it up to you to figure out which one is which. There is a little giveaway, which will reveal it. Let's kill this Dreadlord as well. Don't actually know how far we are from gaining another level. Potentially we can get 1 more level before we go face the final boss. So that was just the elusive Dreadlord. Here it says victory ? That's because we need to kill him twice. There are few enemies in the game that, when defeated, don't really count as defeated. Or when they run away. In one of the add-on levels, there's this annoying little guy where if you, again, you don't kill him in a few turns, he just kind of F's off. Without any rewards or XP left behind. Summoned Baylor. Alright, here's another big guy. So you see now all of our seals are removed, and we just have these 3 aspects. So we're gaining life, we're gaining random like cards like this charity card here that are healing us. So this level actually gets, there's sort of a way it kind of gets easier actually the longer it goes. Because you remove more of the seals and get more of the good stuff. Bam. Get out of here. Very good. Ah, there's the Risen Dreadlord. Now he can't escape anymore. So, let's open the ambush. Get all of our... Yep. Let's get comboed out. Very, very easy. Very strong. Okay, Window of Courage. By the way, reading these windows gives you a temporary buff against the next opponent you face. So you see I'm starting this one now with some Rally and some other random stuff. Knuckles, knuckle, cascade, cascade, cascade. We're doing it. Easy. There we go. One more level before we go to the final boss. Copy a card. You know what? I'm actually gonna copy the Assassin's Mark just in case we don't kill the final boss in one hit. Well, one round, that is. Nothing too interesting here. Let's check this also for some free cards. Nope, nothing interesting. Alright, on to Dante, the final boss. Alright, click through the lore. Ta-da! There he is, the Lord of Despair. So, let's activate our crit stuff. Hit. 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 Knuckles. Discard one of these. Easy! Alright. Well, that was it. Beat the game, beat Dante. Incredibly strong build if you get the right cards. I don't know what to say. Dawncaster, such a good game. This is easily the best game on a phone. I really hope you guys are having fun with it. I understand when you start playing it, there's a lot going on, there's a lot to figure out. I hope this guide helped you understand some of the stuff. I know I didn't explain everything. There is so much going on here. Again, just like play it, try stuff. You'll start memorizing patterns, you start figuring stuff out, understanding how builds work. Again, I really hope this helped you, and I hope to do tutorials on some more of the other base loadouts soon. Alright, well, enjoy Dawncaster, good luck fighting Dante, and have a nice day.